What's going on, everybody? It's Professor Gnome, and we're here with the first deck and the first card that we're going to look at from the new set, Surging Sparks, which is Flygon EX. I asked for some requests, and I will be getting to all of those as quickly as possible, but I just couldn't help myself. I love Flygon. It's in my top 10 favorite Pokemon of all time. It's a really, really cool Pokemon. I love fighting decks, and so anytime that there's a fighting card that's even remotely playable, I'm right there. And the first attack that it has, the Revising Storm, or Reversing Storm, I don't know why I said revising, that's my dyslexia coming in, is a really, really fun and very interesting attack where it gives you this hit and run style play style that we've seen from other cards like Golisopod and many other cards in the past, where what it does is that for one fighting energy, it does 130 damage, and then you switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. So it doesn't do a ton of damage, but what it is able to do is switch you to the bench, and that can be really important because of the fact that we can run things like Cornerstone Ogerpon, where it is you prevent all damage from Pokemon that have abilities, so in certain matchups there's really nothing that they can do, making it really difficult for them to get past you. You can power up the Cornerstone, so then like you're hitting for 140 right after if you want, or you can just keep hitting for 130 and either two-shot, or like in some cases you do have to three-shot, but it's fine because they are pretty much walled. For whatever Ogerpon can't wall, you can pretty much always wall with Mimikyu, so it's just alternating between one or the other. We also run Klefki to be really annoying, where it has the Mischievous Lock, where as long as this Pokemon is in the active slot, basic Pokemon in play have no ability. Both yours and your opponent. That doesn't really matter for us because we won't have any basics that we need the ability for, but it can be really detrimental to our opponent. Some decks rely right now on things like Latios in order for them to function. We've seen issues where, or like Duraludon, the new Duraludon deck relies on Relicanth in order to use its main attacks and things like that, like the Rage attacks. So it's nice that we're able to shut off the Relicanth. And also the main thing, like, those are niche scenarios, but the main thing that it's really useful for is shutting down decks that rely on Rotom in the early game. Things like Dracopult relies on it a lot, Charizard EX, things like that rely on the Rotoms early and the Luminions. All of those are shut off as long as you have Klefki in the active, so we can throw that there while we build up our Flygon. The last card that we also run is one copy of the Gastrodon. The main reason for this is that this is a brand new card, and it's got the Sticky Bind or ability, where as long as this Pokemon is on the bench, Stage 2 Pokemon, both yours and your opponent, have no abilities. This is huge because, again, it shuts off Pidgeot, which is huge for decks like Dracopult. It's really big into decks like Charizard. Pretty much anything that relies on Pidgeot or these Stage 2 Pokemon, what you're able to do is just have this kind of sitting on the bench. You have Cornerstone in the active. You're just really, really frustrating and really hard to deal with. For some other cards that we play, we obviously make sure that we're running the Rescue Board, so that way we can alternate our cards around. We do run the TM Devolution just to make it a little bit easier to take out Pokemon like Dracopult that we don't want to have to attack multiple times over and over again. We do run Judge just to be disruptive to our opponent and be really annoying. We don't run extra energies in order to use the Flygon's second attack, just because we're going for a hit and run style strategy, so we don't really take use of that, though it is a good attack to use if you can. I also run Radiant Jirachi. You can cut this card if you either don't have it or don't want to run it, but I think it is a pretty cool card, especially for decks like this that have that hit and run strategy, where if this Pokemon is in the active and it's knocked out by your opponent, what you get to do is you add 3 cards from your deck and add them to your hand. This is really good because what ends up happening a lot of times is your opponent kind of overthinks the situation and spends a lot of resources getting around Jirachi, that they end up not having those resources later on for the Ogerpon or the Mimikyu and things like that. We also run a copy of Super Scoop Up or Scoop Up Cyclone, where really this is just to help pick up our Ogerpons if they get damaged, or even a Flygon if it's, you know, in a weakened state that we want to reset. Oh, one last thing too that's really good about Gastrodon is that it turns off Dusknoir, because it's any stage 2. It's not just like EXs and stuff like that. And so a lot of decks, what they do is they can't get past Ogerpon or they can't get past Mimikyu, and they run Dusknoir. So then they use Dusknoir to you know, trade to knock out the Mimikyu or to put damage on the Ogerpon. But as long as you have your Gastrodon in play, they can't do that. So it works out pretty well, all things considered. But yeah, that's going to be the list, guys. Be sure to let me know what you think of the list, any changes that you would make, and what you're most excited to see in the upcoming set. I got a lot of requests, and I'm going to get to them all. I'm going to be recording as much as I can tonight, but we'll see how much I get done. But yeah, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you're interested in the deck list and trying it out for yourself, it'll be down in the description, as well as a link to the community Discord if you're interested in that and want to join. And yeah, that's just about it. I do want to give a special shout out to the channel members. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. That additional level of support goes a long way, and it does really mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And for the YouTube algorithm stuff, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It really helps out the channel. It really boosts the videos. And, you know, right at the beginning of a new set release is kind of the most important time for that. So, you know, we want to get as many new players who are interested in some of these cards the opportunity to see them and explore the decks and have a fun time with it. New sets always bring in a ton of new players, so we want to make sure that we have content for them, not just myself, but all content creators. If you have the opportunity, you click on a video, just throw a like on it. It's pretty easy to do for a lot of other creators, and it does help get their videos out there, and helps new players find, you know, more content and helps engage them in the hobby, so it's always important. But anyway, that's my little, you know, rant over with. Thanks for sticking with me, my long-winded intros, as always, and I will see you guys in game number 1 in a second. Peace. Alright, we're in game number 1. Our opponent's going to be going first. We open Klefki, which is pretty good for us, actually. Especially, too, we have the Buddy Poffin, we have the Nest Ball. Our opponent's going to mulligan as well. Fighting and Fire. Interesting. We get 2 cards off the mulligan. Nice. Ooh. Cool. This is the new Aromage thing, right? Wonder what the fighting energies are for. Energies. There's a Squawkabilly. Unfortunately, buddy, Squawkabilly doesn't work because I have Klefki. You weren't paying attention. Now what's your plan? Hey. So we'll go Buddy Poffin here. We'll grab ourselves 1 Trapinch, 1 Mimikyu. I'm trying to think. This deck doesn't run any stage 2s that matter, at least not that I'm aware of. So we can go Bidoof here. Grab ourselves that, and then we will grab ourselves 1 more Trapinch for later. Unfortunately, there's not much else we can do. We're a little bit stuck. We don't have much in our hand to work with. Ideally, we'll be able to top deck into like an Ultra Ball or something. Obviously, them getting the Carmine top deck is unfortunate, especially for the position they set themselves in. Mist Energy. I think that the Aromage deck is going to go crazy. Is it Aromage or Cerulege? Our opponent conceded. They just didn't get the hand they wanted. Obviously, they would have loved to be been able to get that the Squawkabilly off. This one's dumb, so we're going to end up doing 4 games. I'll leave this in, though, just because it showed the benefit of Klefki, but I'm going to be honest, they definitely, based on our hand, had a pretty good position to like win if they were able to evolve. I'm guessing they didn't have the evolution in hand, and they just didn't want to risk their active getting knocked out or something. But, I mean, obviously they can't know that our hand's really bad. So, it is what it is. But that does show the value of, like, just opening Klefki and how strong that can be. So, I'll leave that in, but we'll do, like, 3 actual games after this one. So, see you guys there. Peace. Alright, we're into game number 2, which is technically kind of game number 1 in our case. We are going to mulligan, so we'll see what we get after the fact. We'll see how this game goes. There's a game in between this one and the last one that you guys won't end up seeing, because for the first time in my entire Pokemon online, career, my opponent lost because they ran out of time on the chess clock. And I have never encountered that before. But the game was incredibly long because they kind of just refused to play for most of it. So that was interesting. We see a Duskull. Based on the Rotom V, I think it's safe to assume it's probably like a Charizard or a Dragapult variant. Or not. We'll see. What would they want off the Ultra Ball? They get rid of Dusknoir and a Switch. Okay, Squawkabilly, I mean, that makes sense. They're loading their bench up with a lot of support style cards. We see Water Energy. Okay, so what is it? Like Palkia with Terrapagos or Terrapagos or whatever it's called. We see an Instant Charge. Rare Candy for us is nice, not super incredible. I think we grab the Rescue Board for now. And a Buddy Poffin. Wrong. I already have that. So let's actually grab the Evolution for later. We'll go Buddy Poffin, grab ourselves Trapinch and Klefki. I would love a Shellos, but that's just not available right now. I like the switch, bring the Klefki in, force them to kind of have some other options. It will shut off the Scovolt, not that that really matters. It mainly shuts off the Rotom for right now, which is good for us, and if they like drew into like Lumineon or something, it would also turn that off, which is good for us. You see Night Stretcher for Dusknoir. They can go Rare Candy Dusknoir in order to pop the Klefki, but that's honestly not that big a deal. They could use it as well to, like, remove the Mimikyu, if that's what they're worried about. What would be nice is top decking and energy, being able to go TM Evolution for Bidoof and the Trapinch. Energy onto Palkia. Okay, the Iono is honestly not bad for us, because our hand wasn't super good. And that's better. So we do have an energy to work with. We have Arven as well. We could go Judge. I think it's fine right now to grab a second Trapinch. Go energy down. Arven for an Ultra Ball. And we'll grab the TM Evolution. Get rid of this. And we'll get rid of the other Trapinch for right now. We can always super rod it back in, but I want to grab a Bibarel. And start to get myself as many pieces as possible. So we'll incisors here. We do get the rare candy as well as an escape board, which is nice. If we're able to top deck in Ultra Ball or any way to get ourselves into Flygon, we'll be in a pretty good position. Double rare candy. Though they should have waited, because now they can't Palkia to this. No, they don't have any energy in the discard pile anyway. Man, I would have loved if we got into Flygon. So I'm going to put the energy down here, or the rescue board down. I'm going to go Judge. Throw the rescue board onto this. Throw an energy onto the other Trapinch, because I'm really trying to get into Flygon on this turn. Which we were able to do, which is really big for us. Because now we can retreat. Bring the Flygon in. Go ahead and hit it with the Reversing Storm. And then we'll bring Mimikyu in to wall temporarily. Grab ourselves 2 prize cards. The double turbo is nice. Unfortunately, we don't have Shellos available still, and we don't have our Cornerstone in deck. Which, if we had Cornerstone, we'd be in a really good position. Just unfortunately, we don't. One change that I think I would make to this deck is I'm starting to think that having Max Belt would be better. Like, I think having Max Belt would be better than, like, the Scoop Up Cyclone. Because then Max Belt would allow me to, like, 2-shot this. They get rid of the Luminion. We can make a whole new Flygon, so if they decide to go Curse Blast and use their Subspace Swell, or their Star Portal, sorry, to, I don't need the Buddy Poffin. We're not grabbing, like, any good prizes right now. If they use the Star Portal for the 1 energy, and they use that in order to knock out the Flygon, which is the choice they're making, it's actually not that big a deal for us. Because we bring Trapinch back in. We go Arven for a rare candy and Devolution. We can go Rare Candy to Flygon. We'll hold off on using like the Night Stretcher or anything like that. We can attack. And bring the Mimikyu into the active. They don't have a way past the Mimikyu at the moment, so it forces them to need to use like boss's orders and things like that. We can bypass the Greninja by just attacking into it once, going Devolution after. They don't have a barrel set up yet. If we had Max Belt, it would be like really good for us though. They will have a barrel now, though. But we only need one more attack on the Palkia for it to be in range for us to de-evolution. So even if we only get one more attack into it and they retreat it, that's still totally fine. I think the goal from this point is just preparing another Flygon in case this one gets like bossed up. But they can't one-shot it anyway. You bring in a new Palkia. If we can get a boss's orders, that'd be great. The Aono is fine. I mean, we lose that on the de-evolution, but we can always get that back. We don't really need the Pal Pad. Rule of Rain. If we can get rid of the 0 Underdepth, that's also pretty good. I think we just go Nest Ball here. We'll grab ourselves the Radiant. Doesn't really matter. We'll drop the Pal Pad. Put double Arven back in our deck. Go Incisors. Do have a double turbo. That doesn't really matter for right now. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna go Judge here. The main reason is like, yes, it gives them, you know, cards to work with, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, because they're just gonna be able to like Bibarel, Squirtle, like they're just gonna loop it anyway. We retreat. Bring in the Flygon. Go for the Storm. We bring Mimikyu into the active. Just to force a situation where they are stuck right now into having to go for Dusknoir in order to pop the Mimikyu. Which will put me down to 2 prize cards, which is fine. Because then all I'm looking for is boss de-evolution. Go boss's orders. There's the Nest Dash. So they don't deck out, but they can't KO me. Yep. From this point, I can actually just hit Judge, and we will win by deck out. Yep. Alright, so, I mean, not exactly the way that we wanted that to go, but it did serve its purpose. We just wall with Mimikyu, we bounce it out, hit and run, and we got there in the end. Not exactly the way we wanted that to go, but it all works all the same. Was a little bit long of a game, though. So we'll jump into the next one right now. Alright, it's game number 3, right? Yeah. Game number 3, our opponent's going first. We would prefer to go first, but that's okay. We open Mimikyu. We'll see. We see the Terrapago sleeves. It looks like we are up against Lugia, which objectively, like, will be a hard matchup. Though our opponent didn't really get much done, which is obviously nice for us. We'll go ahead and Arven. Use that to grab the Rescue Board and the Buddy Poffin. Yeah, that'll work. We'll go Buddy Poffin. We'll want to make sure that we have Shellos and the Trapinch for sure. The main thing is that we can use Shellos to help turn off the bench, which will be very, very crucial. We'll go ahead and slap down the Rescue Board for later and pass our turn. Obviously, we'd love to just go Ultra Ball, you know, Flygon Rare Candy, but obviously we need an energy to do that. What we'll probably do is get rid of the double turbo and the Lost Vacuum in order to Ultra Ball for Bibarel. Draw with Bibarel. Use the second Ultra Ball to get us into... If we get an energy, then we can use that, go Flygon Evolve, and then look for the... Oh, wow. Okay, didn't think that's how that was going to work. I think we just put full priority into knocking this out. Cool, and there's Bibarel, so that works out pretty well for us. So we'll go Ultra Ball. Like we said, get rid of this and this. In this case, though, we'll just go Flygon straight out. Go Rare Candy. Now we just have to hit any way to get into an energy. Perfect. So we'll get rid of the Buddy Poffin. That's crazy our opponent bricked so hard. That being said, even if they didn't, though, we were going to be in a position to, like, win that game anyway. One of the benefits, like, that's one of the benefits of Shellos, or Gastrodon, rather, is being able to shut off those base, or the stage 2s would really, really, really hinder their deck, and make it pretty hard to move around and, like, actually get things done, considering they rely on Archeops in order to do that. Also, the prizing is so weird now. But that's besides the point. That's a weird game. We'll do one more. And yeah, I don't know. That one's weird. Right now, the bottom of the ladder is such an odd space to be in because everything got reset. So, like, you have people where it's like, it was a total reset. So I was in Arceus tier, and now I'm all the way down in Pokeball trying to, like, this is my first set of ranked games since. And so these gameplay quality is, like, a lot worse at this level. It just is what it is. So we're trying to climb back as quickly as possible. We'll do one more game, though, and I'll see you guys there. Alright, we're in a game number 4 that's kind of like 3, which is kind of like 2, because all these games have gone kind of weird. We open Mimikyu, which is not bad. We see Luminion from our opponent, which is a rough open. We'll go Nest Ball. We'll just grab ourselves the Trapinch for now. We'll drop the Shellos and the Bidoof and call it a day, I guess. We'll see what our opponent's playing in a moment. We see Pidgey. Very nice that we have Shellos available. There's a Nest Ball for a Rotom. So, I mean, there's an argument that we could have gone Klefki. But as of right now, I think that this is fine. I'm going to go Ultra Ball here, get rid of this and this. Grab myself a barrel just right away. Be able to place that down. Place the Vibrava. I will Judge. Which, you know, there's an argument that it benefits them. But I think it's fine. We'll go Trapinch and... Do I want the Klefki now? I think it's fine. I think it's still fine to do, especially after we Judge, because we want to make sure we're turning off the Rotom. We'll Incisors. We get ourselves Fighting Energy that we can place on the Vibrava. And pass. The main thing now is we want to get into Flygon Shell and our... We want to make sure we're getting into Flygon as soon as possible, and we want to make sure we're getting our Gastrodon set up. Yeah, because we want to make... Alright, that was unfortunate that our Judge gave them so many things. Like, it gave them the Seal Stone, which allowed them to have Rare Candy Pidgeot. So, obviously, we don't love that. Okay, actually, them going Eerie is really good for us. Because we just want as many cards out of our hand as possible. Weird that they went for the Eerie. We do get Arven. That's good enough for us because it allows us to go Ultra Ball and a Rescue Board. We'll go Ultra Ball, get rid of this. And the... We'll get rid of the Ogerpon. I think is fine. Because I can always pick that back up later. We'll retreat. Bring this in. Attack. And I'm keeping Klefki in just so that way they can't Rotom at the end of their turns. If the Klefki gets knocked out, that's fine. I'm not sure what this is. Okay, so this is back to, like, they bricked a little bit, which is annoying, but also it's this thing of, like, they're not making the right plays with the cards they have. Okay, so it's Hydreigon. Yeah, so I just don't think they've been making the right plays with the cards they have available to them. Which has been, like, why the... You know what I mean? Like, this is kind of like where being lower on the ladder is, like, a little bit... I don't want to use the word, like, disappointing. but it makes doing the content a little bit harder, because it's hard to, I don't know, it's hard to have like objective gameplay when your opponent isn't really making the optimal plays that they should. So like there's no reason to bring Rotom in here. You're better off bringing a Dino in that you can sack easier for less prize cards, because you have to have Switch in your hand now. So they go Rare Candy for Hydreigon. Their Bravery Charm is now worthless. They brought this in. It's weak to the Flygon I already have, like, made. I'm gonna go Judge here. This, again, it, like, helps them a little bit more than it helps me, but also at the same time, I just need, like, cards right now. My hand was way too loaded with a bunch of random stuff that I didn't want. I will go Earthen Vessel, grab the Flygon, grab myself the 2 energy, attach 1. Now I can retreat, bring this in. They made, again, another huge mistake because I hit for weakness. This was something they couldn't retreat. I'm able to knock this out, and then I bring Klefki right back in. They're going to concede because Klefki means that they won't be able to use the Pheasantipity or anything like that. That was just kind of bad play. Where, again, like, they definitely bricked a little bit, but then they made a lot of bad decisions following that. Like, there was no reason to go Eerie there, right? Especially, like, we know Arven's in your deck. You probably have other supporters. Even a research, something to, like, fix your hands. Like, they were so worried about trying to stop me that they didn't advance themselves. So, yeah, weird choices. I mean, there's definitely something to be learned from it. So I can leave it in from that aspect of, like, making sure, like, that's one of the biggest things that separates, I think, like lower skill players to, like, that median level, and then from, like, median to high, is being able to actually operate your deck even with, like, suboptimal hands, and, like, being able to make the most effective plays with the cards allotted to you. I think a lot of times people, once they don't have, like, that basic, like, you know, tutorialized start, they don't know how to play the deck anymore, and so they can't really advance. And that's what's going to hold you back. It's, like, being able to play the deck out, even with hands that aren't the most optimal. Now, you can make the argument that it's, like, it's Hydreigon, so it's a brand new deck. They may not know how to play it yet. But Hydreigon's just very, very similar to Charizard in that extent. Like, you kind of want the same general game plan. But, yeah, I don't know. We'll do one more game. And, yeah, I'll see you guys in that one in a moment. Peace. Alright, we're in a game number 4 or 5. I don't even know. Our opponent is going first. We open Trapinch and not much else. We do have Judge to help reset our hand, though, after the Buddy Poffin, which is nice. Obviously, we would love to have opened the Klefki, because we've kind of shown already just how strong that is. But it's okay. Depending on what our opponent's playing, we'll obviously know to prioritize whether we want to go, like, Cornerstone, or whether we want to go, like, Mimikyu or something like that. It is Dino, so our opponent's playing Hydreigon, which does mean that the Cornerstone will be much less effective for us. But what it will allow us to do is be able to utilize Mimikyu and stuff like that. I assume it's Nest Ball for Rotom. This is where Klefki would be awesome. It is Pidgey. Dark Energy onto Dino. And a pass from our opponent. So, think we throw the energy down here. We go Buddy Poffin, grab ourselves the Bidoof and the Shellos for right now. We're going to go ahead and use the Judge. Get ourselves a new hand to work with where we do get the Nest Ball. We'll grab ourselves the Mimikyu here. We could retreat. I'm going to go call for family, though, and grab ourselves one more Trapinch for the future. And we'll grab the Klefki. Yeah. We'll grab the Klefki. That's mostly just to help thin our deck out. We'll have an energy for the other Trapinch if we need it. We have Bibarel in hand to help draw ourselves some other cards. Obviously, if we can get ourselves into like Rare Candy Flygon, that's going to be the most optimal thing for us to do as soon as possible. If we're lucky, our Judge like really disrupted them, which would be super nice. And it looks like it has. Another Dark Energy. If they just go Bite, that... is that... Yeah, so they just go Bite. So our Judge was very, very impactful. So we'll go ahead, we'll throw the energy down onto Trapinch. We'll drop Bibarel. Then what we'll do is we'll go Bibarel first before we Arven. So that way, if we're able to get into something that we really wanted, like a Rare Candy or the Flygon, we could pivot. For right now, I think we go Evolution and Rare and Ultra Ball. So that way we can place the Evolution down. Use that on our Shellos and the Trapinch. Make Vibrava and Gastrodon. That way the Pidgeot can't be used. And we can Ultra Ball to make the Flygon on the next turn. There's another Dino. I kind of feel bad that our Judge kind of crippled their hand so heavily. Okay, they can retreat, go Cleffa, and fix it, so that's good for them. That's not a bad play. Good, good. Dark Energy under the other Dino. Get yourself as many cards as possible. Not a bad play. So I think we'll go Ultra Ball here. We'll get rid of this and this just because... Yeah, it's fine. Cornerstone's not going to come up in this matchup, so it's not really relevant to have. We can go Flygon here. Place this down. We'll attach the Rescue Board to the Mimikyu. Retreat out the Trapinch, bring in Flygon, attach the energy, make it so we can draw as many cards as possible. The De-Evolution is going to be really big later on for knocking out the Hydreigons. We're able to knock out the Cleffa. We bring Mimikyu in from this point. And one of the good things that we're in position for is we're set up with Mimikyu in the active with a Gastrodon protecting it. So they can make Pidgeot in the active, which is like fine. It will mean that that's how they can get around Gastrodon. But post that, like once Hydreigon's brought in, they still won't have a way to get past Mimikyu. We'll be able to chop it down with the Flygon. And ideally, what we could do is hold on to the Devolution, attack into one of the Flygons, or not Flygon, one of the Hydreigons. Bosses orders the other one, pull that up, and just get the knockouts that way. So, like, if we can get damage onto this, damage onto this, damage onto this, drop the Devolution, just take all 3 prize cards, and that'll pretty much put us in position to end the game. See an Ultra Ball from our opponent. This I assume we'll be getting them the Hydreigon, because they already had Rare Candy in hand. Or the Pidgeot, rather. But the more Rare Candies they use, the easier it's going to be for us to just make the De-Evolution play, even if we have to make it early. So this is 1. The other thing, too, though, is, like, with Gastrodon available, it makes it much harder for them to use Dusknoir and Pidgeot simultaneously. Because if they want to, like, what they could do, in theory, is, like, have Pidgeot in the active, use that to get, like, Rare Candy Dusknoir, use Rare Candy Dusknoir, retreat Pidgeot, pop Dusknoir onto the Mimikyu, force something in, Hydreigon attacks. Like, that would be, like, the most optimal way to play this. There you go, Dusclops. The #1 issue for them now... Why'd they go Curse Blast already? Are they going to do that just to knock out the Trapinch? That can't be your play. The play was to just leave it as Dusclops. That way you don't have to waste a Rare Candy. My man's 1 prize card was not worth it. You had victory there, potentially, if you played that out longer. Because now I get to bring Flygon in, attack into the Pidgeot, assuming you don't retreat. I guess they just look to counter the Gastrodon, because that is the highest retreat cost. Or Bibarel. Okay, that's also not the best play, because, like, if I top deck into a double colorless, I can just attach and retreat. Unless... Yeah, they can't knock me out on this turn, I don't think. The Rare Candy doesn't really matter. Let's see. Okay, so... We'll just go Arven here, grab the Switch, and a Rescue Board. We can go ahead and play the Switch down, bring this in, and at this point, just about thinning our deck out. to try and get set up the best we can. So we'll play the Nest Ball, just to, again, get it out of our hand. I'm going to play this down. We can go Incisors. Pal Pad doesn't really get us anything of value right this second. We'll go Storm, knock out the Dino, bring the Mimikyu back in. Another Arcandy, it's not really what we want. Main thing is that we're looking for a boss's orders, so that way we can use that, attack into the Pidgey, prep it for a de-evolution, Pal Pad the boss's orders back into the deck, use that to attack into the Dino or Hydreigon, and put ourselves in position that we just take all the prize cards off one de-evolution. The Collapse Stadium's fine with us. I'll get rid of the Klefki. Obviously, we do have to worry about a boss's orders trap on the Gastrodon. To a certain extent, the boss's orders being in hand is obviously very nice for us. But the benefit here is, like, each turn they don't get into anything makes it a little bit easier for us. Because it just, they can't allow the Pidgeot to get damaged. So they're going to have to just keep sacking one prizers. Yeah, a lot of this is just our opponents not making optimal plays. Like, there's paths to victory, and they don't take them. But at the same time, I think this is definitely, like, in what I'll refer to as, like, informative. Yeah, like, playing that is not good. I don't think playing the Mochi is good either. Like playing it as a card in this deck, I don't think is very good. But alright, so pull up Gastrodon. That is your best play to make. Okay, good. Though that's a second counter catcher down. We could... Alright, so I'm going to judge here. Cool. So that's what I was looking for. I can go Scoop Up Cyclone, bring this in, place the Shellos back down. Yes, it does mean that I will have one turn where Gastrodon, you know, isn't in play, but it also doesn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. At this point in the game, we'll bring Mimikyu back up. Also, it makes it so the Shellos is a 2-prizer. So, or the Shellos is 2 energy, which makes it a little bit easier to try to retreat. Obviously, one of our double colorless is prized, so we can't use that as our, like, basis to retreat. But we can allow them to just, like, get the knockout on the Shellos or Gastrodon or Bibarel, whatever they want to bring in. Doesn't really matter all that much to us at that point. We have to assume they do have a boss's orders in deck. At least one if they're playing double counter catcher. But even if they knock out our entire bench, they still don't have an answer for Mimikyu. And so if it goes just like a stall route, we'll get there. Even if that's not how I want to play this at all. Where they're playing Dark Patch too. We don't see them playing any of the other energies, so they are just playing like a Crushing Headbutt path. We see Boss's Orders, I assume, for Bibarel. Okay. Well, that makes me much less worried about everything. Because they go Crushing Headbutt here for 200, which does damage us. We don't lose out on anything from our top deck that was even remotely relevant. We'll drop the Gastrodon again. Seeing the Boss's Orders dropped, it makes things a lot less stressful. I'll go ahead and Super Rod. We'll put 2 energy back in and another Trapinch, I guess. That's fine. It's really just to put cards in our deck. We'll go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of this, and the Judge. Actually, we'll hold on to the Judge. We'll get rid of the Trapinch to grab ourselves a Flygon. Just so that way we always have an attacker ready if we need one. We can go ahead and Incisors from here, because we're really just looking for Devolution. We'll throw the energy down, and we'll go Storm here. And from here, we get to bring in the Mimikyu. Now that Gastrodon's re-established and Mimikyu's in the active, there's really not much our opponent can do. With the Flygon EX, they aren't going to be able to use the Quick Search ability of Pidgeot. So they can't really search out another Boss's Orders or anything like that. And if we're able to get De-Evolution, that works out for us. But if not, we have enough cards in deck that we can just kind of sit here and loop attacks on the Hydreigon over and over. Like, that also will work out for us all the same. Because, I mean, it's going to take them a little bit over, like, more or less like 4 turns of going Crushing Headbutt with the discarding to really get anywhere efficient. So we can retreat, bring this in, and now at this point, we attack in, bring Mimikyu back. And that's the game, because we already have Boss's Orders in hand. Even if they do retreat it to try to stall, it won't matter. They aren't able to discard enough of our hand for it to be relevant. Okay. I mean, at this point, they would then have the ability to retreat this out if they really wanted, but then we just look for, like, De-Evolution. We can also Bibarel to try to draw ourselves into the Boss's Orders. It looks like they are going to go ahead and retreat, probably go Pidgeot. Man, these games get so long. Okay, they just go Crushing Headbutt. So that's going to be game number 4/5. There's a counter catcher we don't really care about, but we can go ahead, retreat. There's the concession from our opponent. And so, yeah, that's going to be games 5/4, kind of 3. You guys get the point. I really like Flygon. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's definitely a very different style of strategy. And the hit and run tactics and all that stuff is really, really cool. I think our opponents in this video as a whole didn't really play the most optimally. But, I mean, you know, you have to keep in mind that the level of play is just going to be a little bit lower because of where we're at on the ladder right now. But that being said, I think there's still a lot to learn from these videos, especially when you see your opponent not really making the most optimal decisions. Because if that's mistakes either you currently make or mistakes you've made before, kind of being able to see it on the opposite end and like see what it looks like is always beneficial, especially to like realizing that you have to know how to play your deck outside of just like the basic start. I kind of compare it to playing chess. It's like everybody knows like the basic opener, right? Of like just moving your pawn forward, moving the knight, all that kind of stuff. But it's only when you actually start to learn like other openings and figuring out how to like really maneuver on the board is like when you start to become a better player. And it's the same way for figuring out like how to play your deck. It's like everyone knows the basic tutorial style open, but it's not until you start figuring out like how your cards interact enough that even if you don't have everything available to you, you're still able to come out on top. But yeah, that's going to be the video, guys. Be sure to let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Be sure to try the list out for yourself and let me know any changes that you'd make. I would maybe change out Super Scoop Up or the Scoop Up Cyclone, but you know, it's still very good, so it's hard to say 100% that like the max belt would be better. But I think that's probably what I'll be testing to see if I like that more. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Be sure to let me know what you want to see in the next video. There's so many new cards to play with, so I'm definitely going to be experimenting with that. But all in all, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.